It's been an interesting exercise. I'm actually down in my rear room, which I quite like, the one I've got to turn into a study. But I'm not here to talk about the room. Actually, I wanted to make an observation about modern technology and how we do take it for granted. In this case, I'm referring to my washing machine. Just recently purchased this particular apartment, so I was just testing out the equipment. And one of the things I actually noticed was that the cold water hose attachment at the back of the washing machine was loose. So every time I did a wash, it flooded out the bathroom. So basically the only way to avoid that before getting someone in to repair it was for me to basically turn off the cold water flowing into the washing machine, and do the wash by basically transferring buckets of water from the trough, which is right next door to the washing machine, into the tub itself. To do a normal wash, I'd found out that I'd need about, say, 4 or 5 of these average size buckets, plastic buckets, and they get a little heavy, and it's certainly manual labour, and it makes you appreciate what a labour-saving device a washing machine is. It's good in a way to make you realise how far we've gone, because unless you're forced to do things in a manual way, you do take all this for granted. But I really learned how what a labour-saving device it was today, because I did my doona cover, a quilt. It's a queen size quilt of it's not a quilt cover. It's actually the quilt includes the interior as well as the cover. So you can't take them apart as you can do with a lot of them. You can take the tops off the actual filling and wash that separately. In this case, you have to wash the whole quilt, so it's quite bulky. And it filled up the tub, because it's not a huge tub in this particular washing machine. And it took me, I would estimate, around 12 bucketfuls of water to do the wash, and then I had to repeat the process to do the rinsing cycle. So that's like 24 buckets of water had to be filled and hauled across to the washing machine and tipped in. And of course there was a bit of spillage, but nothing like what there was when I just used the actual hose outlet, because it was actually leaking that badly that it just totally flooded out the bathroom, and I had to mop it several times to get it dry. So it's interesting, because, as I say, you take this stuff for granted, but boy, think of all the hours of sweat that washing machines have saved people in the 20th century and 21st century. It's incredible. And as I say, in a way, it's a good thing to be forced into this situation. Oh, the other thing yesterday it also made me appreciate is you've got to be on the ball when you leave your house. I did the dumbest thing I could have think of. I actually filmed it, but I just thought about why I did it. I went to the letterbox and I left my keys in the letterbox when I went off blithely down the street doing some shopping and what have you. I can't believe I did that. I've never done something as stupid as that in my life before. But what happened was I got distracted. Because there's a whole lot of junk mail in the box, and I had to transfer it out. And while I was doing all that, I just forgot about the keys and left. I don't know why I did it. I certainly don't think I'll ever do it again. But I was freaking out when I got home, as you can quite easily see. And I was thinking, geez, I'm going to have to get a locksmith to let me in, because I don't know where the keys are. But I thought, look, I better just check and retrace my movements. I thought I might have dropped the keys or put them into a pocket that I've got in a couple of these shorts that have actually got holes in them, so I've got to make sure I put it in the right pocket. It wasn't anything like that. It wasn't on the ground, and being a blind man, very hard for me to identify. It was simply that I'd left it in the letterbox, and no one, thank God, had actually seen it, because if someone wanted to break into my place, luckily this is a fairly quiet block of flats, they could have just walked up to the door, and they had both keys, one for the fly wire and the other one for the main door. They had both keys available. So boy, I was so lucky that didn't occur, because I was away from probably about 45 minutes or so. So there's plenty of time for someone to break in. It just shows you I hope it's not a sign of senility or dementia on my part. I'm not the youngest guy on earth. I'm hoping it's just one of those stupid things. I've done it before. I actually have locked myself out once before, but I had been drinking, and that was a situation where the keys were actually on they were attached to a dongle which was in the computer, and I left it in the computer, and I just opened the door to go to the corridor in my apartment, and I remembered just as the door closed. It was just, you see things in slow motion in situations like that. You can see the disaster happening, and I just didn't have enough time to keep it ajar so I could get back in. And you know what that cost me? $150, and that was probably about 6 or 7 years ago. $150 to get this guy out. It took him, seriously, it would have taken him a couple of minutes to get in there. That's all. $150 for 2 minutes work. Just unbelievable. This wouldn't have been as expensive here, presumably, because it was during light hours, but it still would have cost me at least $50, probably $80 or maybe $100 or more. Who knows? But I saved a bit of money and I learned a lesson. I guess in life, if you can't learn from your mistakes, you know, you might as well give up. So it'll reinforce the fact that you do not leave your keys in your letterbox when you leave the house. Dumb, dumb, dumb. Now, evidence is mounting that I'm losing my mind. This morning I woke up and looked around for my keys in my pants. Didn't know where they were. They just weren't there. What I'd done was, last night I'd left them in the door when I'd shut it after returning home. I've never done that before either. So that, after the letterbox incident's a bit of a worry. I'm getting distracted by other stuff, I guess. That's all I can figure. Yeah, very weird. But, as usual, pretty busy out here. A lot of people out and about. Just get myself a Guinness, last one before I go to Melbourne.